so I've got a confession as well to make.
Go on.
So I went to rugby school as well.
Okay.
And
Did you play?
I played for my A team, and I was pretty good.
Oh, you're in the A team?
I was pretty good.
Okay. What position did you play?
Blindside flanker.
Okay, wow.
Yeah. So I was really into rugby because I went to rugby school and I loved football, but my school didn't play football. And so I was like, no, I've got to be on the school's main team.
Sure.
So I worked really hard to get on the team. But after we played rugby on a Saturday, my mum forced me to go to dance class. And part of it was ballet and tap as well.
Really?
Although I did not end up at the West End and play Billy Elliot because I don't think Billy Elliot was brown. So that wasn't going to happen. It wasn't the same path as you.
Oh,
but I also had that experience. That's why I had to ask you about it.
Did you enjoy it?
I really enjoyed it for the community aspect of it. Like I love all the lads that I was there with. And they were just a great laugh. And it was really interesting because I'd literally go from playing rugby straight to class on a Saturday, and I'd go in there with all my bruises, exhausted, and all the rest of it. But everyone was just so much fun.
Sure.
And it's almost like the rugby pitch was more stressful because everyone
100%.
was like, you know, trying to be intense and trying to be this and that, whereas everyone just having a laugh at the dance class. And we do everything from hip hop to street to whatever. But yeah, I remember never telling. I think this is the first time I've ever spoken about it.
It's out there.
Because I'm in a safe space with you. So I'm like,
but it's interesting because rugby's regimented, isn't it?
Yeah. I love rugby, by the way.
You play a position that is as specific as saying the blind side flanker. You know, when you're a dancer, you're just a dancer. You know, you can fit in however you want to fit in.
Yeah.
The teacher can ask you, how are you feeling about that? Rather than like, you need to get your head down to the left to make a proper tackle. I did love playing rugby when I was smaller.
Yeah.
Not when I was smaller, when all the kids were smaller. And then there was that time where I came back to school after Billy Elliot and everyone had just become a man. And I was still very much a child.
Yeah.
I remember we played this school called Trinity College. And it was my first game back, and I was playing scrum half. I came on the second half, and it was a violent game. It was not a gentleman's game of rugby. And I was standing, they were kicking to us, we were receiving. And I remember thinking, as long as the ball doesn't come to me off of the kick, I'll be fine. I need the game to get going, and then I'll be fine. I'm scrum half, relatively safe position, I'm a good playmaker. As soon as he kicked the ball, it's coming straight towards me. I'm trying to catch it. I can hear the boots running towards me. I fumble it, knock on. The game goes on. I start playing well. I assisted a try. And then I don't remember what happened or how it happened. But there was a really tough kid on our team who will remain nameless. I haven't spoken to him since. I don't know what he's doing. But he got into a fight with some kid on the opposing team. And it was really quite ugly. And then the kid's dad came on the pitch to tell off this boy that was on my team, and the kid on my team knocked out his dad.
No.
Like proper, like it's the first time I've ever seen someone hit someone. And I couldn't believe that a kid who was...
How old are you? Yeah.
He must have been 16 at the time, but he's one of those 16-year-olds that would look older than I do now when he was 16. And I just remember hearing the noise. He like cracked this dad on the jaw, hit the floor. Then this whole big fight broke out. I'm not a fighter. I stepped away and was sort of like, what's going on? Yeah, it was wild. And that was the last game of rugby I ever played. It was against Trinity College.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was really intense.
Wow,
yeah,
that is intense. Yeah, that's how intense it got. My last game was similar, but not watching a fight. So someone ran, it was a big game, and it was like I was playing really well that season and everything was going really well. And someone ran into a ruck, but with their elbow, which is obviously illegal.
Totally.
They ran in and they elbowed me right there, like right below, it's on this side and right below there. And then next thing I know, I get up and I'm like kind of feeling a bit aggressive.
Are you cut as well?
Well, I didn't notice, and then blood starts to drip, and I was like, that's when you freak out because you're like, oh God, I'm like, and there's a lot of blood just dripping. So I get subbed off, and the nurse on the side just puts a bit of glue there, like to stick it together.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, you don't really notice it and you think you're all right. And then literally an hour later, it's just getting thicker and thicker and thicker. And I'm ending up with this, run to the hospital on the way home because my coach was just like, suck it up, it's fine.
You'll be fine.
Run there. They're like, if you were any later, you would have had nerve damage and like personally, potentially lost your eyesight, whatever it was. And they had to like glue it and a little bit of stitches or whatever it was. And for the rest of the month, I walked around with my, like, you know, eye literally hanging over, and I looked like I'd got into like the worst fight. Like I walked into a store and everyone would kind of back off and stuff. And it was just really uncomfortable. That was my last game of rugby. That's why I just remembered that. But yeah, it was intense, but it was great. Like you said, it was great regimented discipline training. I loved training with my mates. I loved playing. I loved, as a young man as well, like having a outlet to release the energy that I had.
Totally.
I felt was good in obviously in a way that wasn't trying to hurt others.
But that's what's so great about boxing.
Yeah.
It's like boxing is such a great release. You know, you see these young kids who are angry, who need to let something go, like go and punch a bag for an hour. Like that will calm you down.
Yeah.
I love how boxing is such a great thing for young people to release that sort of energy.
Are you boxing? Do you box?
I love boxing.
Yeah.
It's been a few years since I've done any sort of training. I used to go to this great gym in New York called Church Street Boxing.
Mm-hmm.
Used to love it there. Had a great pro. You could sort of spar with him because you know that he wouldn't batter you because he could control himself. I went to one sparring session, just a general session, and I got absolutely battered. Yeah, it was tough, but I love it. I love the sport. I'm a little bit sad as to like how the sport is being run right now.
Right.
But I do love the sport and I admire the athletes. I think they're amazing.
What's your take on YouTubers, boxing and all that kind of stuff? And because it's obviously bringing a lot of attention to the sport.
To be perfectly honest with you, mate, I don't really mind it.
Yeah.
I think it's quite fun. I think if you're doing it for the right reasons, you know, there's a great opportunity to raise some money for amazing charities. And I think a few of them have done a lot for charity. I think it's really great. I think, you know, my brother Paddy would never have been watching boxing, and now he loves it because of his favourite YouTubers at boxing. So if it's good for the sport, it's good for the sport. I sort of don't really mind. I think it's funny, to be honest. Yeah, because you sit at home watching it, you're like, I could do that. I could get in there and do that. And you're like, well, why don't you? And you're like, well, I don't really want to do that.
So we might see you in Creed 4 then.
Absolutely.
We'll do the acting boxing.
I'd love to do a boxing movie.
Yeah.
I think it would be cool to do a boxing movie, but where the fighting is real.
Walk me through that.
I wouldn't necessarily be in that film, right? But I do think that you could make a really interesting film where the outcome of the film is determined on the outcome of the real fight.
Has anything like that ever been done? Like racing or any can you, I'm just trying to.
Not that I know of.
Yeah, not that I know of. That's what I'm trying to think.
It could be really cool.
Yeah, wow.
But yeah, I love boxing movies. I'm a sucker for it.
Yeah. Which one's your favorite?
I think Rocky 2 is probably my favorite. I remember when we were in Billy Elliot, we had this room called the Billy Room, and there was always a Billy backstage while the show was going on because the show was so labor intensive. It was very dangerous. There's lots of moving parts. There's lots of acrobatics. It wasn't too uncommon for a Billy to get injured, and then there would be someone upstairs who would replace that Billy. And we would just hang out upstairs, and there was an Xbox and a television and all that sort of stuff. And one of the DVDs that we had, the two DVDs we had were Step Up to the Streets, my favorite film of all time, and Rocky 2. And I must have seen that film 40 times.
How many times did you practice the dance in the mirror?
Oh, man, I've got the whole dance down, bro.
Can we see it?
No. Yeah, no, I love that film. I absolutely love that film.
Yeah, I'd say my favorite. So Rocky was my favorite because I'd watch it with my dad.
Sure.
And Rocky... I struggle between Rocky 3 and Rocky 4 because I loved Mr. T. And
That's 4,
3,
right?
That's 3.
That's 3.
And I loved Ivan Drago as well, which was 4. And they were both just such great movies.
Yeah.
It was just, it's such great entertainment, even though it's nothing like real boxing.
Yeah, nothing at all. Nothing at
like
all.
real boxing. But then I remember watching real boxing when I was growing up. It was Prince Nassim.
Oh, man,
so
I love him.
Yeah, my dad was a big fan of his, so I'd remember watching him a lot.
I love his style. There's a video of him working with I guess it's like a swinging bag, and he is so effortless. Because Canelo's got a great head movement, but he looks like he's thinking about it.
Yeah.
Whereas Nazim is just living the dream. Just he's so fluid, and I love the way he used to move.
Yeah.
And I love how he would enter the ring. Me, I would over-rotate and slam on my face or something. Yeah, he was brilliant.
Yeah,
Amazing.
it was like wrestling meets boxing. Like,
yeah. He must have been a nightmare to fight.
Yeah.
It must have been like, he's beating me and he's embarrassing me. This is really tough.
Terrible.
What do you think of Lemachenko? Did you see his last fight?
I haven't. No, I didn't see it.
That's an interesting one.
Go on, tell me. I didn't see it at all.
Well, I think the general consensus is that he won.
Oh.
But it was given the other way.
Right.
He is my favourite boxer.
Right.
Because of his history, his background in dance. He was like, I guess, a really talented boxer. And then I don't know if this is true, but his dad sent him to go and study dance for sort of 5 years or something like that.
For his boxing
training. Which is why his footwork is like on another planet.
Wow.
There's loads of examples of where he's fighting people and they look up and he's just gone. He's behind them. So I really admire him. But his most recent fight, he lost.
How did it go against him? Was it a vote?
It was a vote, yeah.
Right.
They went against him. So I wonder whether they'll fight again.
Yeah, I guess they'll have to if there's. It seems like this isn't a conspiracy theory.
But that's
from
the
you.
problem with boxing, though. Like, will they fight again?
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know, because it's a tricky business. Unlike the UFC, where if they want to fight, they'll fight. That's what I love about it. I took my brother and my cousin to the UFC the other night, and that is such a savage sport.
It is.
That is, it's terrifying.
We really don't want that to be a movie and a real one.
Have you seen The Warrior?
I was just
Is that what
about
you're
to
going to
say,
talk
that's one of my
about?
favorite
Mate, that
movies.
movie's so good.
The Warrior is one of the most underrated movies. It's
That movie's
so
excellent.
good. Yeah,
it's a little ridiculous, the idea that they have like 6 fights a night getting ready for one final. But I do love that film.
Yeah. It's a really
it's
good
brilliant.
movie. It's a really good movie. Oh, well, okay, all right. So we know there's a boxing movie coming somewhere down the line.
There's got to be one down the line.
There's got to be one down the line.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and we want to see you work your way up. And we might see you actually go do it for real. Sounds like it,
imagine. God, for charity, maybe.